what that reflects. That still people come into the class, and when I see their name, I have no recollection. Definitely not a great thing. All right. Which of the following best describe the primary function of the text of the next to the last sentence? Where is next to the last? Could have highlighted this part. Okay, this one. Like flushing. They're just explaining what role it has. And just explaining because they might have acquired a new role and then they're explaining here what that new role could be. No, correct conception. Reason for the connection between emotional responses and goosebumps and human. Oh, this looks curious. Probably not right. Goosebumps signal same emotion. They definitely don't. It explains a possible role. Yeah, this is more relevant. It could explain a possible role because it suggests a reason for connection between emotional responses and goosebumps. This is not telling you the connection, suggests the reason. What is the reason? They're not given any reason. It's just said connected with emotional responses like this. It just does not say what is the reason. So the word reason is not explained. And the primary function is just to tell you, as I was saying before that, it was explain new role. It might have a new role attached to it right here. A possible role played by this one, I remember. All right. Echo. More RC. Pretty straightforward these though. So here the main question they're asking, the very first is very important. What makes a worker ant perform one particular task rather than another? If you're familiar, for some reason scientists are very interested in ants. They do a lot of different things. There's a lot of role division, right? We think like in human beings there's a role division, that women gender roles. But here, literally everybody is assigned a role at birth, and this is what they do. But it does change. So from here to here, they emphasize internal factors like polymorphism. That means you morph into something else. In the presence of nest, workers of different shapes and sizes, each suited to a particular task. Elements considered to have primary influence on ants' career. So the first reason is giving us is age. As they get older, second reason they're giving us is genetics. Pretty much similar to human beings, except we don't get crushed generally. Focus on external behavior for behavior and advocating. As they're getting older, things can change. First is different shapes and sizes. That was also another element. Each suited to different jobs. Then Deborah comes in. She says, cites experiments, colonies make a perturbed, disturbed worker activity. By removing worker or otherwise altering nest conditions, they were able to change the task performance. This was also by disturbing, altering the nest conditions. They were able to do this. So the main thing was intervention. So three things are given, depending what your shape and size is, you'll get different jobs. Age, genetics might matter. What she's doing is she is disturbing the makeup of the colony. By altering nest condition, then also you can actually change, which is also similar to human beings. If you're living a certain way, but there's a disruption, then you have to do something else. According to the passage, which are the following factors considered from 70s to 80s to influence the division of labor among a colony's worker ants between this and this. That means this does not include Deborah. Alpha Bravo. Thank you, Rita. Ashlesh. Definitely on inheritance, genetics, age, right here. Experiences outside the nest. That is Deborah's experiment. That is not between 70s and 80s. So this is another experiment altogether. So this was out. Can be inferred from the passage that Gordon and earlier researchers would agree. Just remember, they're only asking what they will agree on. It has to be very specific, and everything else that we don't have information about, we assume that they disagree, or at least not agree. So let's say it says disruption of the nest can affect workers' roles. Now, these people have not done this experiment. So I'm going to refrain from saying whether they'll agree or disagree. So I'll just be sitting on the fence. So I'll say, no, not this one. Genetics predominates over other factors in determining a worker's. I'm not even sure that one of the people even are saying something like that in the first place. So it'll be very difficult to agree on something that even one party is not really solid on. So by definition, if two are incorrect, then one has to be correct. An individual's worker's tasks can change during lifetime. So here, because of intervention during lifetime can change, according to Deborah. According to other earlier researchers, yes, because it says age. As you age, it can change. So this is something they will agree on, that during their lifetime things can change. So only see Charlie. Yep. This one we don't know. So we don't know. So we can't say they agree or don't agree. So we'll just say nope, it's out. This one definitely, even the first party is also not saying that. So there's no way. And second party doesn't talk about it. So no way this can be correct. New passage. Oh no, it's the same one. Sorry. Which of the following, last sentence has which of the following functions, keyword function. What role does it play? This one says, by removing the workers or otherwise altering nest conditions, researchers were able to change tasks performed by this. So right before this, Deborah had said, cites experiments in which intervention in the colonies make a perturbed. And then seems like an example of that, sort of like proves it. Were able to. So this is like were able to, that means this actually practically happened in reality. Like in reality. Charlie. It explains how experiments performed by Gordon differed from those earlier researchers. Well, it has nothing to do with the point of difference. It is an independent experiment, not compared to the earlier researchers. Justifies the methodology of experiments cited by Gordon. So first of all, you should say methodology, this is my methods, and then you say these methods are right. Well, all they've done is like they have told us what the way to it, how to do it, the process, which can be considered as methodology, but justifying the methodology. Okay. Gives details showing how the experiment cited by supporter positions. Like detail, they always use the word loosely. Detail is like just reasons. And this is like a little bit more elaborate on something. By removing the work or otherwise altering it, were able to change. And this is exactly what her position was. If you perturb the worker active, which if there's intervention, it will make up in the colonies make up perturbed. This disturbs or changes the worker activity. And this actually proves that it does, in fact, change the activity. Thank you, Rita. All right. See, so not this one also, because justification, how are they justifying it? This is telling you this is what it is. There's no justification. See, Charlie. This is slightly longer than the 150 words. I think this is around 200 words, but this is pretty much you can get the maximum length passage. You'll not get longer than this. If you get longer than this, I mean, you can't practically sue me. I'm just saying that on my deduction, you don't get something like this. I'm bigger than this. Mm. All right, so because it's asking for the primary purpose, we have no choice but to read it. 98th neutrino detectors in Kamiako, Japan were able to observe thousands neutrinos, several thousand. They're saying they're generally elusive. Somebody who's always avoiding something very elusive, difficult to find, moving at nearly the speed of light, passing through almost every path. So one key element they're saying, these findings have potentially far-reaching ramifications, which is another word for consequences. They strongly suggest that it has mass. So now this field, they're suggesting that it has mass, although albeit very small, but mass. So, but even if it has a tiny mass, if that is proven, they will still outweigh, another keyword, because there's so many of them, they will outweigh everything universe visible matter, even if there's any mass, because of the vast numbers. Now, the findings also suggest that neutrino does not have one stable mass or one identity. Instead, it oscillates. And in fact, may explain this. In fact, explains although the sun is a large source of neutrinos, detectors capture far fewer solar neutrinos. That's why detection is far lower because it's just they're so elusive. Very good. Yeah, because they're so elusive, undetectable by detectors. Finally, the standard particle physics model, which describes the matter, does not allow. So the standard particle physics model says, well, neutrinos don't have mass. There are theories that do. Further experiments to confirm the neutrinos have mass could help physicists determine which, if any of these theories is in fact correct. And as you know, if it does have mass, it will end up outweighing everything in the universe, all the matter, and matter makes everything. So, what could be the primary purpose, merits of a theory in the light of new evidence? The new evidence, which theory? Discuss scientists' inability to account for certain expected theories. A bit weird, these two. Point out certain shortcomings. Compare several alternative explanations for particular phenomena. Consider some implications. Implication is just another word which they had used for us as well, which is ramifications, consequences. Where did it go? Yep. Consequences of certain scientific findings. This is where this was very weird. Evaluate the merits of particular theory. What is the merit? Merit and demerits. So implication, if this happens, they'll end up outweighing everything in the universe, which is a major, major ramification. So looks better. Charlie and Echo. Okay, so we have different answer at least. Point out certain shortcomings in a long-standing theory. What is the long-standing theory? Suggest this. This, in fact, 98 using this thing, they figured out this thing. Potentially strongly suggest, where is the long-standing study? Where is it? Um, I can't really see it. So this is simply that they have had some findings. They found something. As we were reading, I think they had used the word very directly, like here. So they were not specifically comparing it. They just said this has happened. They found a lot of them. They were traveling nearly speed of light. So of these findings, there's implications or ramifications are far reaching. And they're considering this because the experiment, if any of these theories is in fact correct, if they do turn out to be correct, this can have a far reaching impact. So this one makes more sense. One more question on this same passage. According to the passage, one significant implication, ramification, consequence of the discovery of neutrinos of mass is that discovery would. I think this is something which we talked about multiple times. Um, this looks like it. Cast out solar origins. Okay, this looks like I have no information about this. Standard particle model. Visible matter is composed of neutrinos. Well, entail total weight of all visible matter in the universe is less than the mass of neutrinos. So this is what they were trying to say. This looks better. Mean that speed at which neutrinos normally move can be slowed down by certain types of matter. Okay, unless I'm reading something else, this is definitely not given. So d delta makes more sense. Entail that total weight of all the physical matter, visible matter, will be less than neutrinos in the universe, as long as they have some mass, whatever tiny that is. Howsoever tiny, not whatever tiny. Critical reasoning. Okay. Very interesting question. This is looks like a math question to me, but I'll not solve it by math logic. I'll just try to solve it more simple logic.
Deleterious. Deleterious.
So in the 10-year comparison between US and Soviet Union, in terms of crop yields per acre. So they're saying per acre. They're not saying holistically the whole crop, but on average per acre. Reveal that when in only planted acreage, whatever you're growing, that's the planted part, is compared, Soviet Union were equal to 68% of US yields. That means if US is growing 100 tons of rice crop, then Soviet Union is growing 68 tons. That means when you only take care of the planted part, US, Soviet Union has no match for the US. They are far, far ahead. But interestingly, when total agricultural acreage, when they include the fallow also, fallow is when you do not, the land you're not growing anything, uncultivated. So this is cultivated, uncultivated. Is compared, Soviet Union yield is 114% of US yields. Now, quite interestingly, that when we are comparing only the planted part, Soviet Union is no match to the US. So when you're growing something, Soviet Union is sorry, US is growing, like their growth is far, far superior per acre. Just remember, they're using the term per acre. Now, interestingly, when we compare both, when we add both planted and unplanted land, then Soviet Union turns out on top. Now, logically, that can only be possible if the area which is unplanted is a lot more for Soviet Union, because when it comes to planted part, they have no match. That means it must be the other part, they must be securing this extra brownie points, right? So it can't be from the planted part, it has to be from the fallow part, which is the unplanted part. That means one thing I can say, that from the unplanted part, Soviet Union should have a lot less than the US. But here we're talking about per acre. So we should also answer in per acre in percentage terms only. We should not compare directly with the Soviet Union. And let's just say what we can remove. First, US has more fallow acreage than planted acreage. They're not even comparing with Soviet Union. They're comparing with themselves only. But here we have to compare from US versus Soviet Union. So because the comparison only within US, I have no information about this. Fewer total acres available agricultural land with fallow in than in the state. Okay, let's park this one. Fewer total acres of available land were fallow. Okay. Had more planted acreage than fallow. Again, they're comparing Soviet Union with Soviet Union only. So it does not hold good. The Soviet Union produced a greater volume of crops than the US produced. Well, they did not. Or first, also, we don't know. We just know per acre. We don't know the total amount. So these three are out. Now, these two are left. This is percentage. I like the word percentage. The moment, if you're getting confused with it, like if you're just not able to understand absolutely, try to use some hacks. This is one hack, because they said per acre. That means we are in on percentage terms. Percentage of total agriculture acreage was fallow in the US, higher in US. So if total percentage is higher in the US, that will justify this, because when they're not growing, there a lot of land must not be growing. That's why the Soviet Union turns out to be on the top, because when they're growing, Soviet Union is only 68%. They're not even close. But when you compare both, when you add both, then Soviet Union is on top per acre. So this one makes sense. And what was this one saying? The only one we had parked, fewer total acres of available agriculture. Now we do not know that. It says when total agricultural acreage is compared, the US percentage was higher per yield. So if your total available agricultural land was fallow in the Soviet Union than in the US. Now, again, we do not know that. It might be possible, but we don't have data for it, because we are only looking in percentage terms. So we should only compare in percentage terms only, not in absolute terms. Numbers and percentage is completely different ball game altogether. So here, this one seems more suitable than any other. Now, let's just try to answer it from a person, like from a perspective where we have no idea what is going on. Like one hack is, this says per acre, yield per acre. Here also they're saying percentage terms here. Here also they're saying percentage terms. So I'm thinking if they're talking all this percentage, I should have percentage in the answer as well. Literally none of the answers have percentage. This is the only answer as percentage. So on a balance of probability, if you had just marked it in 30 seconds, this was high probability of this answer being right. So I normally never teach by hack and I don't like it at all. But when push comes to shove, you want to save time. At least when you see a lot of percentage, try to at least look for percentage. This is the only one that has the term percentage. Everything is more absolute. They're only correct comparing the whole acreage, whole fallow, whole planted. This is the only one which is talking about percentage. So on a balance of probability, my chance of getting this answer, this can be correct, is very high. Ram is here. Ram is here on Christmas. Interesting. All right, so alpha is correct. I'm curious that, Ashlesh, what was your thinking on this thing? Because this is actually technically a math question, which I don't teach it from the math perspective because it's given to me and I can pretty much directly see that you don't need so much formula because I've checked it on YouTube also. They have some weird formula to solve this thing, which I didn't understand myself. But I think it was pretty evident to me that if you're comparing percentages, then I would rather go for percentage than actually go to absolute numbers. Yeah, fair enough. I think in my mind, this is very clear. I haven't had too much success in explaining it. And online is, I don't even know what is happening, honestly. But in class, it gets very difficult. Yeah, B and D were out first because it's just saying completely opposite. Had more fallow acreage. I don't have information if they have or not. I really don't. This is the only one which was actually could have been correct if you're comparing not percentages, we're just comparing the whole land. This can be possible, but we again don't know because again the answer is also in percentage terms only. Yield this much percent of the US. Let's see, talk about the total stuff. Had to eliminate them too. It made more sense. Yeah. Because if on percentage basis, I can definitely tell you that this has to be it. Because if you when you're growing something and then if they're growing 100 tons of wheat and you're only growing 68 tons of wheat, uh, how the only way you can turn on top by end up at 114% of the US, that means you must have on percentage basis much less fallow land, much less uncultivated land, and US must have a lot of it. Then only that can happen because when it's cultivated, US is absolutely US is no, Soviet Union is no match to the US. It's an interesting question. I did like it. After doing that very difficult question, complicated, at least interesting question, intriguing question, this one is fairly straight up. If you're agreeing to be mediator, the whole point of mediator is a referee or umpire. Well, one thing you can't do is take sides, right? To take sides, a later point would be to suggest that earlier presumptive impartiality to fairness was a sham, was fake, was pointless. So that's what we emphasizing on the point, the passage is emphasizing on the point that Don't call yourself a mediator when you're going to take sides, because that will be a sham. That will be just pointless, completely pointless. So which one says this does not agree unless I think this one makes more sense. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Hmm. Oh, sorry, did I mark the wrong one? They should not agree unless, sorry, I meant this one only. I myself is in a rush. They should not agree to serve unless they are committed to maintaining a stance of impartiality. Which one did I come in? Should not agree to serve unless they are equally acceptable. Not equally acceptable is not a concern. The main concern is they have to be impartial. So yeah, Bravo will be correct. More critical reasoning. How to solve complete question. Read the passage carefully and pay attention to portion just before the blank. Follow the logic of the passage. According to eliminate. Well, that's very helpful. Commonsensical things. In this one, just remember that you might get these kind of questions, but best completes the passage. So whatever direction they're going, you go in the same direction only. Don't try to change maneuver. Whatever they're saying, just keep going in the same direction. Just try to finish it in the same vein. People buy prestige when they buy a premium product. They want to be associated with something special. Mass marketing, they want something special. If you have something premium product, you want to have something special. You don't want everybody to have it. So price reduction, which will mean everybody could buy it, should not be there. Mass marketing, that means everybody should not have it. Price reduction should not have it because it will make it less premium. It will make it more mass produced. Bravo. Continued sales depend on directly on maintenance of aura of exclusivity. So this is the premium product. If everybody has what you have and you paid a lot of money for it, you don't like it. In fact, that's why a lot of big companies will not do price reduction, because then everybody can have it, which will reduce the aura of exclusivity. That's the whole point. If you want a premium product, you want prestige, that means you want to be the very few people who have this. That's why sometimes you see some products as limited edition. That means only few people will have that. If everybody has it, it's hardly a premium product, right? So let's see right now the phones. These phones are so good. I mean, because everybody uses these Apple phones nowadays, costing like lakhs of rupees. So it seems very normal, but these are very premium products, right? But then we cannot call them luxury anymore because literally everybody has it. In luxury, the whole definition of luxury is that very few people will have it. That's why we cannot specifically that they not cannot be called luxury. So there's no prestige specifically with having those phones. I mean, there's something, but that's a bit different. All right, so this will work. Okay. The boldface. The words are very important in boldface. These are the only one they're given. One of actions. This is moving to a different direction also. Which page is this? I think these words are given in page 89. Few more words also. prediction. But these can work the argument as a whole thing as argument, but normally it doesn't always need to be the whole thing. I don't know why they keep saying it's whole. Sometimes specific part is also called an argument. Claim, judgment, prediction. That means these are all opinions. Claims, judgment. There'll always also be few more names for them. I think I would say you make a note of these things, and then you can keep adding in that block, like whatever the other words they're calling them. They can be calling them hypothesis, explanatory hypothesis, all kind of words. Opinion can be attacked. Findings, evidence, information, which is a fact. You should not attack the facts. Consideration, explanation, grounds. These are reasons. I think another word people we use, not given here, is premise. Premise is reason. I think I definitely have shared earlier the for CR resource GMAT club. And the conclusion or position, by the way, conclusion and position can also be claim, prediction, judgment, position. They're in the same category. They're in opinion category. That means they can also be attacked. I think I had a page which had more information. Let me see if I still have it. How do I remove this thing? Okay, I don't know if you. Okay, it's around here. That's what it is. Let me go. Go. Then I don't think this is the right one. I'll have to I think another time from our great case. Yep. So you'll have to practice a little bit. I'll tell you how to approach it also. They're generally considered a bit more difficult. I can honestly tell you they're not that difficult if you, as long as your technique is right. They're not even practically CR. You just have to like read. It's just more like a reading comprehension got married with CR. So just give it a minute, then we'll discuss it properly. Okay, so how I normally approach it is this is how I do it. I try to eliminate as much as possible. The company is mismanaged. So I'm thinking that what could this thing be? Now it will not let me move. So why doesn't let me move sometimes? So they said a company is mismanaged. Is this a claim, judgment, or prediction, conclusion, position, or a finding evidence? It looks like an opinion. So at least I know it's opinion. Um, it could be a position also, a stand that they believe because their company is mismanaged. This looks like a position. So if anything says it is evidence or something like that, I can remove it without even reading the passage. Just read this part and I'm like, position, position, position. So fine. First is evidence. Now, evidence means there should be something to support something. Where is the evidence? There is no evidence. It's just a claim. That means I don't like this part. So these two can be out straight away. Then I'm already left with these three. And then I straight away just find out that whether they first is the position, the argument appears, opposes, opposes, opposes. That means the all three part are exactly same. That means the first part is the same. Second part is the only one I can fight against. So it says companies mismanaged, but without even looking specifically, I'm saying it says in this case it's not clearly justified. That means without like in this one, I just realized you can't even don't have to read it. Companies mismanaged, and it says in this case not justified. I'm like, so they are saying this is not correct on this thing. Second, provides evidence to undermine. Where is the evidence? Evidence must be reason, right? What is the reason? There is no reason given. Evidence to second provides evidence. Second is evidence. Is it evidence? Where is the evidence? Again, I don't see any evidence in either of these documents, both of them. The first states the position, argument as a whole. Second states the conclusion. In this case, it's clearly not justified. So at least that way, I think that this is the only one which is open. So you see my approach. I just read this. It looks like a claim or a position. So I leave these out. These two are out because there's evidence. Then I check the first part. This whole first part is exactly same in all three, so they have to be correct. But in this case, it's clearly not justified. Again, does not give us a reason. Reason is given outside. This is the reason. All this reason is given here. So this one says second gives evidence, provides evidence. There's no evidence. It's just one straight flat position or opinion or conclusion. So conclusion by definition will fit in. I have literally have no other choice left. So this one is the only answer possible. All right, done with these. Back to 11. Is 11. What a boom. Which page is this? Oh, now we have like really bunch of difficult questions. All right. So as the finances of energy trading company began unraveling, which here means falling apart, sometimes can unravel can also mean that something is becoming very clear. So, but here it looks like unraveling or became clear, let's just say. What eventually became something was the company had been concocting value. So concocting is to create or falsify. That means you're creating it does not exist. So here concocting, when you're creating something that does not exist, PDI, okay, concoct. Or simply just falsifying things which do not actually exist in reality. Or I think another word they use in financial terms, cookbooks. When you're making up stuff, cookbooks. Okay. Then value out of thin air. Again, thin air here also means that something that does not exist. If it's like you're just talking out of thin air, that means something that doesn't exist out of thin air. Thank you for autocorrecting. Something that does not exist. Thanks to not to trading strategies, it's promoted as visionary, something then futuristic, but to financial something. So here, thinking unmistakable. It became unmistakable or unraveling when the things started falling apart. It became very straightforward, unmistakable, very clear. So creating, concocting value out of thin air, thanks not to all these strategies, but to something negative. So redemption is positive, responsibility is positive. So games can only fit in to games, but to financial games will fit in better. And that turned one solid entity into the most notorious. Notorious meaning famous for wrongdoing. Again, negative, but then here positive, positive. Omission, debacle. Debacle will make more sense. Correct. So yeah, this makes more sense. No, I'm not able to move this for whatever reason. Okay. So then something became unmistakable, but to financial, whatever the games they were playing, not to responsibility or redemption. Redemption, redeem yourself from a bad situation. So that will not be correct. That turned a one solid entity into most notorious debacle or failure in the history. Omission is when you ignore or discard or omit. Boon is an advantage. Boon will be something positive, something like it's a godsend, a blessing maybe. So yeah, redemption is when you redeem yourself, you save yourself from sin. That's not going to work. Financial games they were playing. They're talking specifically, but which is not directly in the context of the passage. But okay, one word is left. Vindicated. Vindicated. To be proven correct. That's vindicated. Proven correct. They talk about a specific company. I studied them in college. The moment I read this passage, I knew they were talking about them. They can't, I think, write the name. Any idea which company they're talking about? There's one specific company they're talking about. This is one of the major scandal at the beginning of 21st century. To be precise, 2001. This is a major company which was making up all these numbers, named Enron. Very interesting case. If anybody's interested, you can check it out. I'm pretty sure there must be a lot of documentary or some stuff on Google and other places. or OTT or the platform Netflix and all. Very interesting phenomena. One of the major scandals at the beginning of the 21st century. All right, more difficult questions. All right, the serious study of popular culture by intellectuals is largely regarded, regularly credited as having rendered is to has a lot of meanings, but here's this thing, make, right? It's making it obsolete. The once dominant culture, dominant view that popular culture is inherently inferior to high art. Now, it's very important for us to eventually start understanding what all these things are trying to say. When you study pop culture is, let's say, I should spend some time on it for, I'll assume people are listening. Um, who is pop culture? Everybody knows Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. Where did they go? Now, when I start writing, this goes away. Come back, please. Problem. Why not even- Okay, nice. Let's say Taylor Swift, that everybody I think knows her. So that's pop culture. So here is saying that if you serious study of pop culture by intellectuals regularly credit having rendered obsolete once dominant view that pop culture is inherently inferior to high art. Now, when you're looking at art, but if you're listening to people on this one music, that now they believe this is not, it's fine. The high art is nothing better, it's nothing not inherently inferior to it. But then it says yet. The moment you say yet, that means contrast. So in this one, you can change it to also factor. Sometimes give example that we are so caste-based society, right? We feel like caste is no longer does not exist because we don't talk about it so openly, overtly, but covertly we do. I've talked to a lot of people across the board, and people agree that if you bring somebody in into your house, particularly for like trying to get married, and that person is lower caste, it is a concern. It's a major concern. People still give a crap about it, so they do care. Yet this alteration of attitudes may be somewhat. That's why they're saying it is not really as you think it is. It's not completely gone. It is a bit of an exaggeration. So exaggeration, closest word comes is overstatement. It's overstated. It's a bit of an exaggeration. Although, again, in contrast, it is now acceptable, respectable. So it's okay that you listen to pop music, pop culture is fine. The fact that many intellectuals feel compelled here is saying the forced to rationalize or justify their own. But if you listen to, like, if I listen to Taylor Swift and you all listen to very amazing music, like, I don't know, Pink Floyd and Beatles and everybody. So you feel like you still ask, nobody's going to ask you, like, why do you like Pink Floyd? It's like, it's great. Metallica or whatever is out there, AC/DC. So, but Taylor Swift, you'll have to explain. And God forbid if you listen to Justin Bieber or somebody. So you'll still have to explain your choices, or action movies or mass market fiction reveals, perhaps unwittingly, unknowingly, they're continued. That means they still care for this thing, the old hierarchy of high and low culture. That means they still care about it. And the closest word to care is investment. They're still invested in something. That means you're still care about something. And then this one we didn't talk about, rationalize their own liking for something. And liking is penchant, or as American would probably pronounce as penchant. It's a French word pronounced as penchant. Uh, uh, Generally, you can still call it penchant. I think most Americans call it penchant only. So liking and overstated, underappreciated, something who's not appreciated as this should be. Counterproductive is something getting a result which is opposite of what you were expecting. Distaste, dislike for something. Indifference, do not care. Aversion will be also distaste, dislike, similar. Investment is that you care. You know, you still invest. Are you still, somebody asked you, are you still invested in this relationship or you're done? That means you still, do you still care or you still don't care? So then these four, C, Charlie, Delta, and Hotel. All right. Account is means description. Every time they use the word like account, it means description. Go, please. All right. So Serling's account employed reckless decision making. So this person's, he describes as reckless decision making people. We don't know what is here. Something to the company's image. But they're saying they're full of wary managers. Wary is cautious, careful. Decision making, this is in contrast with something which companies image as cautious, bureaucracy, full of wary managers. These people are extremely careful. This flies in the face of their image, right? So this is completely contradicts. And this the word which says contradicts. Belies means contradict, go against something. It is not exposing. Exposing is something revealing something. Overshadow, outshine, not outshining either. That's not how you. Injudicious, the opposite of judicious. Judicious, somebody who's wise, astute, somebody who is careless, um, who's not very wise. Disorganized, same. This is not the less worse than injudicious. So cautious, I'll go with. And contradicts. Alpha Foxtrot, fine. These are few words that means to disprove something or Belie means contradict. It's just going like what you're not expecting that. It's something opposite of what you're expecting. Alright. This is literally the most difficult question in the entire book. It has like 26 different meanings. I feel. Here, patent means the meaning is obvious. Patent accessibility. Patent then also means copyright, obviously. Plus the second word, which is accessible. Something is accessible, it's easy, straightforward. Bravo says intrinsic, that means innate, natural. Frivolity is the second word which you lack seriousness. Or frivolous, something unimportant. Impenetrable is something that's not accessible, inaccessible. This one, penitential. This one relates to the downtown. This is when you're repenting or atoning for your sins. Austerity, D again. This will result in somebody being very extremely frugal or restrained. Intractable is something which is unmanageable. Rolex, I think we've done before. Wordy. Impetuous is rash. Plus prodigal is wasteful. Prodigal son. Okay. Taciturnity we have done before. Speak less. Speak right and think less. Voluble is the opposite of speak less, so it is talkative. Could be loquacious as well. Lucid is clear, easy to understand. That's what I'm saying, it has like so many meanings. No other contemporary poet's work has had such well-earned reputation for something. We don't know what the reputation is, and there are few whose moral vision is imperiously unsparing. That means his reputation must be for something. It can't be patent accessibility. It doesn't feel right. He's not frivolous, so this one has imperiously unsparing, which means here from the information that I have, so imperious is like somebody who's very arrogant, extremely arrogant, and unsparing, somebody who's extremely merciless. So we'll this one makes more sense than the negative one. Of late, recently, imperiously, that means very extremely arrogant and extremely merciless. Also unsparing, one means is merciless, one also means that you give the open heart. You don't have any limits for giving when you're unsparing. However, the most belligerent of these demands, most aggressive, hostile, were severe, of a severe and densely forbidding. Where you go? Poetry has taken an improbable turn. What is the turn? The new collection is Poets' fourth book, an ample output even for poets' sunny disposition, let alone for somebody he's definitely not writes much. That's where the austerity will come into play. Somebody who don't take it together just completely obscures the meaning a little bit. But austere is somebody who lives very frugally, restrained, lives simply, so doesn't write much. The opposite of prolix. This will be writing a lot, or prolific for that matter. Prodigality in wasteful. So this one will also not work, penitentiality. And then last one, yet for all his newfound, that means he's writing a lot, which is volubility, his poetry is as thorny as ever. That means still very prickly as ever. All right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think it had like 27 words. Sometimes someone says it's this one, off late. Thorny is easier, but yeah, literally it has like 27. This together mean differently, independently mean differently. Just- But I think I think it's obviously impossible to get it right in like 1.5 minutes. They obviously price that in that you probably have to save some time and probably spend 2.5, maybe 3 minutes also. But you can get the like I was able to remove these two if I was like completely checked in. You can get it right because you don't have to know all these words, just to get the feel of it, which direction are they going, and then answer accordingly. For that matter, that can still work. Very extremely complicated question. All right, on that matter. After doing this question, everything else feels easier. That's the good part. Robin decides to come in the last 41 minutes. All right, philosophy, unlike other subjects, try to extend our knowledge, discovering new information about the world. It is not trying to get new information. Philosophy is telling us exactly what we already know, just we're not paying attention. Instead, tries to deepen our understanding through something, because not trying to look for something new, not attaining detachment from what, no, it's not. It's looking, it's like understanding. So it's not detaching. Ruminate, think deeply about something. So it wants us to think deeply about something. What's closest to us? What is it? Experience, thoughts, concept, activities that make up the ordinary escape the notice precisely because they're so familiar. See, the main point is they escape our notice because they're so familiar. You know, sometimes people say like you only notice something you lost when you lose it. Otherwise, you don't even care about it. For example, air. Something you suddenly you're in this area where you can't breathe, and suddenly you're like, only thing you ever want in your life that moment is just air, just oxygen. So because it's so in front of us, we don't even pay attention because it's so familiar. So he's repeating the fact here. Philosophy begins by finding something that is mysterious. It's mysterious because it's so in front of us, we ordinarily escape our notice, that are actually very common, not refreshingly novel. They're hackneyed and prosaic. So both words work, but this one says somewhat hackneyed. But what we need is most prosaic because they are so familiar. Otherwise, hackneyed and prosaic can be interchangeable, something which is ordinary or dull, nothing exciting about it. Again, beg. Second time we had beg. Uh, yeah, most prosaic, that makes sense. Banal. This pronounces banal. Cliche. A very common word now, cliche. Right. Fairly straightforward, this one. The belief that politician might become something can only be after election appointment. That's why they're appointing ethics officers, somebody who can ensure that um, they don't get into any malpractice, wrongdoing. So that means they become something negative. Venal, which is corrupt. So venal is corrupt, so that makes bunch of sense. Scrupulous is honest. Entrenched is get. It's probably used in more negative terms. It's like more involved in something, but entrenched in something negative. I use a lot that way. Venal is corrupt. Puzzled is puzzle. Artificial is fake. So this will make more sense. So venal will make more sense of the option that we have. When I say entrenched is like something you get involved in something, but used a lot more negatively, like overall, but the word itself just means getting ingrained or established into something or get fixed into something. So used entrenched into some bad habits, in some bad affair. So venal will make sense, which is corrupt, fake, honest. So back to sentence equivalence. Now two answers. The newspaper reports that the former executive has been trying to keep a low profile since his exit. That means his exit cannot be great. It must be problematic. So here this is out because it's positive. Well, he's getting mysterious right now, so we don't know if it's, but let's say long awaited. Fortuitous is positive, lucky. Indecorous and unseemly are pair, which means indignified. Apparently, both words work, indignified and undignified. I don't know if it's American or British thing, but yeah, both words are fine, indignified and undignified. I was I was getting confused. I think I was using both of them. I even double checked it just to make sure not writing something incorrectly. Apparently, both work, indignified and undignified. All right, so mysterious and long, these don't have pair. So this is the only pair I literally have. So I have no choice but to choose this. Yep. Which means undignified or improper, something you're not expecting, something not good, negative. Some scientists argue that carbon compounds play a central role because of the possibility of resulting from carbon's ability to form an unending series. So now my keyword becomes unending series of different molecules. So I'm looking for the word different. Diverse looks different. Variety looks different. Deviation is not different, it's mean discrepancies, like you're going in direction that you were not expecting. So it's more of a discrepancy. Reproduction, don't pair. Stability, invigoration. No, they don't fit in very well, none of them. Invigor is to revitalize somebody, rejuvenate. I think these two are very perfectly directly fitting in. So as market forces penetrate firms and bid the value of attributes of labor that are measurable, then it's the knowledge born of experience. So if you have knowledge, see, one of the reasons why we get certificates, we get all these degrees, is because they're more physical that you can see. So that's why people want to have possession instead of experiences, because experiences are much more valuable than possession, but possessions can be seen. So knowledge born out of experience. So they're saying measurable more, they're more measurable. So that's why your certification, that's why if you get a score in GRE, it's more measurable. It's like your knowledge is inside your head, right? When you're standing, people don't know how intelligent you are, but your certificates they can see, it's measurable. It's something more quantifiable. Expected wages will not, those value lie in experiential knowledge, that they will not help them, not going to be great or favors a positive word, not because of not. So here, again, the first two words work fit all right. Affect is to impact, that doesn't make. Forsake is to let go. Betray, to cheat. Differentiate is positive and negative meaning as well. You're able to, that means differentiate, that means you have good judgment. You're able to differentiate. And other is discriminate, favor and aid. A recent study suggests that vitamin E supplement is something addition to something. Despite widespread belief in there something, supplement is something that adds on to something, augments and increase. Despite their, something can be positive only. They are no better than sugar pills delaying the onset of degenerative disease. So any positive word will do. Potential will be future. but then it's saying like are. It will anyway be removed, but I already have are, so it means it's at present. Potential future. I'm looking for a positive word. Popularity is positive. Prevalence just means existence, so it doesn't mean popularity. But efficacy and usefulness are same, so they work better. And popularity can be there, but it doesn't have a pair. Efficacy is it itself the meaning is usefulness, something which is very useful. That will be considered as efficacy. Effective. This is moving in different directions. Where is this thing? On page 97, if you have the books as well. Yeah, I think so. Yep. In her later years, Bertha was an apostle of noble, so something very um positive. Somebody call it somebody who's a noble person, who's very virtuous and righteous person, will do the right thing, but already something. But then it says but. So first I'm thinking that at least I know it's negative, so I'll just look anachronistic, negative, accepted, positive. This is positive. That means this is the only word I have. This is the only one because noble is positive, but it says but, then negative word. For anybody who's finding it slight difficult, they can always at least use some method, some tropes, some hacks. Always respect it for integrity and energy and positive, but, and again, negative. Emulate is positive, appreciate is positive. This is the only negative. So they're helping our cause by just, pretty much making a very easy distinction to separate the negative and positive from. I literally have only one negative in either of them. Anachronistic, something that belongs to a different time. So here they're using it a more negative way, something that is archaic, something that is no longer, it's obsolete now, it's not relevant. So she was actually a noble person, very righteous and virtuous person, but whatever her beliefs were, they were old, they were antiquated, they were old. So sometimes you can be what you mean is being honest, but whatever you say, it's no longer relevant anymore, right? So ultimately alienated, that means isolated or cut off from that. Emulate is, I don't know what dictionary says the word mean copy. It's actually a nice word. Emulate does not mean copy. Um, Emulate means match. You're able to emulate somebody's effort. That means you were able to match or sex or uh, so in a way it can say match or copy also, but it's more positive word. It means you match somebody's efforts. It's always used ever used in my life. It's always as a positive word, never as a negative or copy word. But yeah, I notice in the dictionary it says to copy, match, but it's more matching somebody. Exotic is also positive. Once you go overseas, some people might actually call you exotic. It means alien in a good way, not in a bad way. And charmingly, or charming as well, exotic. Something different, anachronistic, belonging to a different time. Hmm, three part. So managers who think that environmental performance will, I don't know what they think, their financial performance often, again, claims the system designed to help the manage concern available tools. Now here, finally, I get this clue. So they believe this is a positive thing. So here has to be positive. It cannot be negative or something in that way. Often claims, it cannot be negative, it could be neutral also, but cannot be negative, positive, neutral. In either situation, whatever, sorry, where did I go? Okay, by contrast. So now we have the contrast. That means this one is has to be negative. Who perceive performance to be negative, complementary is useful, something that complements you, something that adds on to something. So intrinsic positive, positive. So this cannot be correct. That means this one has to be correct. Peripheral is unimportant. Uncritically, first one is positive, bolster. So anyway, bolster is only positive, so this one remains. So if you believe in something, you will not try to critically analyze something. That's what they're trying to say. It's uncritically accept. You not start disputing or appropriately and acknowledge like what you're acknowledging appropriately. You're just saying if somebody calls you intelligent, you're not gonna you'll uncritically accept it. You will just say you'll not appropriately acknowledge. You'll say okay, thank you, and carry on from there. Eclipse is like the solar eclipse that we have normally. Obviously, that is one thing. So eclipse, the whole idea is when you call it eclipse because it ends up covering things, right? Or in simple terms, outshine. Bolster is to strengthen. And degrade is something negative. What's the best word for it? Devalued. Yeah, degraded. Then uncritically accept, that means you don't question it, hotly dispute, fine. Intrinsic is innate, something part of something, very nature of something. Complementary, just here they're saying something that supports. Just remember one more complementary with an I. If you use with I, this has multiple other meanings. This one is supporting. This one is has two meanings. One is free, or other is praise with the I, complementary with the I. This one is with the E, which means something that is useful. Periphery is like on the outskirts, or what they mean is being unimportant. Extraneous is something extra that is, again, not required, superfluous. Bravo Delta Echo. Yep. Yep. All right, so incipient, something that's about to happen. regarding the tax could affect trade between two countries much more than something. So second time is definitely negative, which has been going on for years. Unfortunately, the trade regulators seem to be ignoring both disagreements. Now, here, the first one could have been an investigation, but it clearly says, if you read it carefully, that both are disagreements. Both are disagreements. That means we have to choose disagreement only. This is a disagreement, festering dispute over. This is a dispute, which is disagreement, festering, something that's been going on for a long time, which people have not bothered to fix. Fester is like rotting somewhere. And then this one, this is positive. Accord is agreement. Investigation, no, because both are disagreement. And this is, it's pronounced as Rao. Like when he's standing in a queue, which is actually pronounced as Ro. Thanks to welcome to English. And this is pronounced as Rao. Like, some people have last name R-A-O, Rao in India. So that is how it's pronounced, Rao, which means a disagreement. Predicament we've done multiple times. Because people like, a lot of people choose investigation, but Clay says both are disagreements, so I can't choose investigation. Otherwise, if this wasn't there, the incipient about to happen, investigation could affect. That can also work, but because both are disagreement, I have to choose disagreement only. Row and festering dispute. Festering, remember, something which is rotten, and it says some dispute is festering, that means going on for a long time and nobody is doing anything to fix it. Rowdy comes from row. I don't know actually. Rowdy. It just happens to be like this. Which it does definitely mean like disorderly and stuff, very rowdy person. It might, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I can check it. You can check it. Let me know if it's coming from there. I think maybe just a coincidence, but at least I know that the word rowdy is used a lot more right now than earlier. Rowdy has the same sound to it. So all the X are not Twitter. These are all opposite consonants. Okay. In the meanwhile, I double check. It says it's of some unknown origin, so it's not directly saying that. I'll also have different meanings, right? It's like this one, somebody is like a troublemaker or something, and that is, but has a similar sound, but Rao sound, Rao. But I think the sound is similar because they say like Rao, which it will be Rao, like that sound, Rao sound. Slowly. I think they're also trying to differentiate. Like I think, see, there's always some method to the madness. They're not just deliberately trying to mess with the people from Asian communities, but because the word road is there. Like if I say road, and if I say road, and that will also be sound like road, and then everything will start sounding same. So that's why they probably try to change whatever maneuver they can do. Yeah, yeah, true. I always remember everything by some association. Eventually, just it sticks to it. But only words I don't remember, I get mixed up with in my brain, are the ones I have no reference point, or they sound a lot similar to like other view. We just had the word intractable. I used to get confused with intractable because there's multiple words which sound very similar. But somehow it stuck to me like it's an unmanageable, intractable, inscrutable, and all these words used to sound very similar because you never get to use them. Although so it's already starting with an two straight up. Invasive means definitely negative, like a pest. Although the plant and animal species have become established in ecosystem, whether they did not originate are sometimes referred to as alarming invasive species. Something is a pest, something will be very destructive. Many such species are in their new environment. That means although, so if there's although, and then the finally a comma is here, this must be positive. Alpha. Innocuous is harmless, positive. Conspicuous is obvious, neutral, positive. Menacing, negative. This is the only negative. Distinct is different. So a lot of positive words, but what we're looking is harmless. And innocuous is harmless. Before the word was invasive, which would be very harmful. Conspicuous is that is very easy to identify, obvious. Robust is vigorous. Menacing is troubling, very destructive or dangerous. Distinct is different. So a lot of positive words, but innocuous, the very first word kicks in. Although I don't know if I've talked about this earlier or not, but we'll have to reach a situation where if the first option is correct, we should have the courage of conviction to say, okay, this is correct, let's move on from here. Only the people who are able to do that, and that will only come with lots and lots of practice, then you will be able to actually score very high to optimize your score. Just because you're intelligent, that doesn't really mean much if you're not able to optimize, do everything at like supersonic speed. This is a absolute a speed test. All these GRE, GMAT, all speed tests, including SAP, all speed tests. I don't know why they put boon here, because this is not the same category. Benign and innocuous can be the same category, harmless. Benign also means kind, but I can understand harmless part. But boon has nothing to do with innocuous. Boon is an advantage, a benefit. Maybe curse. Curse for which one?
The top line says like harmful slash curse.
No, no,
So
these are
maybe
like
they put
X,
it.
right? So these are all opposite.
Yeah, and like
So then
boon
they
is an
put in the
opposite to
opposite
curse.
along with benign and
Mm,
innocuous, which should, I mean,
yeah.
kind is another meaning, but I understand innocuous and harmless. But boon is not harmless. That doesn't make any sense because boon is positive, insidious, malediction, malignant. Normally, when people get cancer, this is a common word I've heard a lot. Benign cancer that can be cured, malignant cancer that is pretty much going to take you all the way to the penthouse. Oh God. Okay, anathema. Anathema is directly means curse. The curse. Like corruption is an anathema of the modern world society. Okay, we'll make this the last one because I think I've noticed the next one is also very complicated and we're running out of time. I'd rather just do it fresh. Interest, a lot of courage people have shown to be here on Christmas Day. The government has no choice but to do something. Incessant demand for land reform. Well, if they have no choice, they can only get the government action. That means they will be taking action. That means fairly certain that they are accepting this. Government has no choice but to. That means they're listening to them. Incessant is something unending. You remember like all the rains that happen here in July? Incessant, or sometime in August also. So incessant rain, that is unending demands for land reform. That means they're paying attention, paying heed to it. It's not about anticipating. They're not silencing because they are taking action. Yet any action that initiated land reform without requisite, like you remember the prerequisite, required, pre-required. For getting admission, the prerequisite is to get certain score. So requisite will be just required, fancy word for required. Agrarian reform would be something, because it says yet, that means something, it can't be good for them, it has to be bad for them. Second one will be negative. Delineate cannot be negative. Delineate is just a very basic word, means describe. This is another word now that we're talking about with Ashlesh, right? This is another word I used to get confused with. Delineate just does not sound like describe. And it took me a while just to even get the hang of it. Delineate, to describe, delineate. It's like it sounded like it's something marking something, territory. Bravo and Foxtrot. Compromise. Now here the mean is like what compromise here means in a negative way, as in weaken. Focus. Right, properly. Compromise is weaken. Condone is a very common word when you accept bad behavior. You know, those parents who just let their children do whatever they feel like, or somebody's letting you doing something you have bad behavior and nobody's doing anything. Delineate, from my own scale. Describe, pay heed, pay attention to. Anticipate, something look forward to. All right. Fine. What was the second one? Where we go? Accept bad behavior. Sorry, compromise. My brain is also not functioning. Okay, so weaken something. Compromise is also to meet midway when you're trying to bargain for something or with your loved ones. You're like, let's not do this, let's do this. Finally have a compromise. All right. So I think a lot of people had the bravery to join this class, including me. This is the first time I ever worked on a Christmas. It is, by the way, next two classes will not happen because the company is next. I think next class the company is taking us somewhere to Chitwan. And then the next class falls on 1st January, which is also on holiday. I think they've sent you a message, I think, if I'm not wrong. And then that means we'll resume. Today is Wednesday, right? We'll resume the Sunday after, which will be, I think, 5th, whatever day is it, 5th. So then we'll resume then. So you'll have two, like, entire week. I think I would really suggest that, you know, you can go back and revise everything. Because as I say, like most people don't contribute, but because you're still here and you don't disappear in the middle of it, that means you still care. Um, might as well revise everything, whatever we have. There's a lot on the portal. There are a lot of webinars, tons of them which are already done. There are a lot of videos there. You revise everything. Just take a lot of time. I would personally invest, but yeah, definitely enjoy the Christmas or New Year, whatever it is, and make the most of it. Have a balance. I don't like people doing only one thing at one time. So just balance it out a little bit. That's how my day is always very balanced. I mean, I try to do just balance everything out a little bit. So have the most of it. And all I would say is that have a good Christmas. Thank you for coming in. Mabin, you came in very late, but I'm still happy that you showed up at the end. It's better to join for 40 minutes than not join at all. So I would rather still say best to come on time, but if you can join for a little bit also, I would say even if other people are late, please come in. It's better to be there and then not be there, right? So have a good New Year, Ashlesh, Jessica, Mabin, Nasir, Prakriti, Ram, and Rita and Suman and Suraj. What's up? I'll see you again next year. And make the most of these days. Have a good time, and Merry Christmas to you as well. Yeah, I will. I will. Yeah, fair enough. No trouble. Good to see. I was happy to see you. Yeah. Thank you, Rita. Take care, Marvin. Have happy New Year, everyone, and enjoy the rest of Christmas, whatever is left of it.